What's up everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Jared Cannonier vowing not to fall into Israel Adesanya's traps. July 2nd, UFC 276. It's going to be an insane event with the middleweight title fight between champion Israel Adesanya looking to extend his reign atop the 185-pound division with a win over #1 contender Jared Cannonier. Adesanya has looked incredible in the octagon ever since joining the organization back in 2018. In just over a year and a half, he earned the right to become the undisputed UFC middleweight champion. Since then, his legend has only grown, beating all challengers for his title and successfully defending the belt 4 times. In fact, he's almost running out of opponents, with the UFC looking to fast-track a former kickboxing opponent who actually beat him a couple years ago in that sport in Alex Pereira, pairing him up against Sean Strickland later this year. But Adesanya's next test is against Jared Cannonier, a 38-year-old Texas native who has won 5 of his last 6 fights, and 4 of them are knockouts or TKO finishes. The former light heavyweight has the benefit of at least studying a lot of the champion's previous fights, how other fighters have fared, and what potential openings there could be to get the better of the last stylebender. Ultimately, Cannonier feels that many times Adesanya simply goads people into fighting the way he wants them to, and this time he'll be different. This is what Cannonier stated in a recent interview with James Lynch about it.
I don't plan on playing his striking game. That's what he goads everybody into it. He confuses them, and then next thing you know, they're in his genjutsu. They didn't know it, but they were playing right into his hand. I plan on neutralizing. I want him to be neutralized, null and void. I want to be flaccid out there.
Cannonier earned the right to fight for a title with a brutal knockout of top fiver Derek Brunson at UFC 271. He does have the power to shut the lights off, but the question is, does he want to play that game of trying to catch a man who many consider to be one of, if not the best striker in the UFC? What do you think about Cannonier's comments here? And do you feel he'll be able to come away with the upset victory on July 2nd? Leon Edwards says after winning title, he wants Jorge Masvidal in London. Ever since UFC London event in 2019, when Jorge Masvidal hit Leon Edwards backstage with a 3-piece and a soda, there's been serious beef between these two welterweight stalwarts. That night, Edwards beat Gunnar Nelson, while Masvidal's star rose with a knockout of Darren Till. While Edwards consistently campaigned to fight Masvidal following that infamous backstage run-in, Gamebred has had other ideas, and he fought in big bouts, twice for the title, a BMF title bout against Nate Diaz, and even a non-title pay-per-view main event against Colby Covington. But despite Masvidal's recent 3-fight losing streak, Edwards still wants a piece of Masvidal. Rocky is next in line to fight for the undisputed UFC welterweight title, scheduled to face Kamaru Usman on August 20th in Salt Lake City at UFC 278. It's a long time coming for Edwards, who hasn't lost a fight since he dropped a decision to Usman back in 2015. But despite the fact he's preparing for the title fight, Edwards is still seething over that UFC London event from 2019. Case in point, this is what he stated in a recent interview with Ariel Helwani about it.
I don't think he wants to fight, and I've always said that he doesn't want to fight me, and obviously I would have loved for that fight to happen. When I won the bout, I was saying the other day, when I won the bout, I'll give him the title shot, that'd be a fantastic fight in the UK. Bring it back to the O2 where it happened.
Oh my God.
For the title, that's what I want to do next after this.
Edwards went on to call Jorge Masvidal a little rat over the physical altercation that took place outside a Miami Beach restaurant, in which he allegedly ran up to hit Colby Covington. For that, Masvidal is facing a few felony counts and possible jail time, as Covington did press charges, but that matter is still being played out in court. What do you think about Edwards saying he would grant Masvidal a title shot just to get his hands on him? And who do you think would win that fight? Don't forget to take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the MMA Zone to stay up to date on all of the latest fight news. Khamzat Chimaev continues to push for a Nate Diaz fight. Nate Diaz has been saying again and again that he wants to finish out his final fight for the UFC and then part ways with the organization over issues he's had over with them. However, it's been nearly a year since Diaz last fought, and fights that looked like they were set, like the Dustin Poirier bout, were eventually dropped. Now, it's unclear who exactly Diaz will fight next, and there's talk about a potential Conor McGregor trilogy bout. But Diaz has previously called out Khamzat Chimaev on Twitter and accused Chimaev of ducking him. This is what Diaz stated. "I've been trying to fight for a year and months. I also tried to fight Khamzat for the last month and a half, but he was hurt, had visa issues, overweight, and now his is off getting married instead of fighting. I'm trying to get a fight with a real fighter ASAP, July." Well, Chimaev has been active online, saying that Nate Diaz doesn't actually want this fight, and is only throwing shade to get in the spotlight. Now, in a recent interview on the Block Party podcast, Chimaev accuses Diaz of the same. This is what he said about any potential fight between the two, and where negotiations were. No, it's never been close to a done deal. The skinny boy, when I said let's fight, I was good weight, good shape, and now I've been lifting weights. I go up like 3 kilos. Now he says let's fight. He was thinking, is August too early to cut weight? I don't care. I'm gonna cut my weight and fight with him if he's ready. I'll smash that boy. He won't be the same Diaz anymore. Chimaev's star has risen significantly since he entered the organization. He's a scary welterweight contender who has a lot of power behind his strikes and is a strong wrestler who's not afraid to mix it up anywhere. But for whatever reason, this fight had not been booked and it's unclear who each guy will take on next, though Chimaev and Belal Muhammad have publicly agreed to face each other in the octagon later this year. What do you think of Chimaev's comments regarding Diaz? Anthony Lionheart Smith, not a fan of how Jan Blachowicz handled himself after beating Rakic. Almost exactly a month ago, former light heavyweight champion Jan Blachowicz defeated Alexander Rakic in the main event of UFC Vegas 54. The win officially went down as a TKO, but Rakic's knee gave out as the big Austrian Serb was evading Jan's strikes, and it turned out to be what gave Jan the victory here. The injury is serious enough to require ACL surgery, which means Rakic will likely be out for the remainder of the year. Because of the win, Jan instantly moved back into title shot contention, given that he only just lost the belt last October to Glover Teixeira. It's unclear if he's going to be the clear-cut #1 contender against new champion Jiri Prochazka whenever Denisa has his first title defense. But another guy in the hunt for a potential shot at the belt is Anthony Smith. Lionheart is getting set to face the surging Magomed Ankalaev, who is on an 8-fight winning streak and is number 4 in the division. This fight is set for July 30th. But for Smith, if Jan gets a title shot on the back of a win over an opponent who he thinks only lost because he got hurt, there's no merit in it. Case in point, this is what he stated in a recent appearance on the MMA Hour.
If I got the title in a way that was other than winning it, I would never hold the belt. You know, we talked about it with Aljo before he kind of really won it. You know, like you don't walk around with the title if you didn't actually win it. Like we never seen DC with it. Like if you win a fight off an injury default, like you don't get to go and politic your way into things off that win.
Smith goes on to say that he feels Rakic was winning that fight until he got hurt in the 3rd round. Blachowicz did make the trip to Singapore this past weekend to watch UFC 275 in person, and indications seem to be that he's next in line for the belt, especially after having a heated exchange with Jiri after he was crowned champion. Still, there's nothing official yet, and UFC President Dana White stated he feels that the Smith-Ankalaev fight has the potential to be a #1 contender bout. What do you think? Do you agree with Smith's sentiments here about Blachowicz? And who do you think should be tapped to face the new light heavyweight champion?
The things that drives me crazy is the Chito Vera leg kick, how a couple times you go, and I've watched my fights back over and over and over again, and every time I hear you and Joe say something, they say, I don't know why they don't kick his legs like Chito Vera did. It was very effective for him. Oh God, it drives me crazy, DC. That's what drives me crazy.
I understand.
The leg kick he landed wasn't a good quality leg kick. My leg kicks I was landing on him were making him spin in circles. His big toe hit the nerve when I was pulling out from a kick. That wasn't it wasn't a very effective kick, but it wasn't the leg kick that you guys are talking about. Just chop his legs down.
Carla Esparza says Zhang Weili fight will take place when the champion says. Zhang Weili's incredible spinning back fist knockout of Joanna Jędrzejczyk at UFC 275 this past weekend in Singapore was one for the ages. It was a rematch of their all-time classic war that took place back in 2020. This is why anticipation was high for the rematch, and Weili came out on top in the 2nd round, earning not only the win, but the chance to fight undisputed UFC strawweight champion Carla Esparza. After the bout, Weili revealed that she would love to have the title fight take place in October at UFC 281 in Abu Dhabi, but the champion says she won't have dates dictated to her and won't be sticking to anyone's timeline but her own, seeing that she is the champion. Esparza, in a recent interview with the New York Post, pointed out that this is a decision she's made after learning her lesson years ago. After beating Rose Namajunas in the TUF finale in 2014, becoming the inaugural undisputed UFC strawweight champion, she took on the dangerous Joanna Jędrzejczyk in her first title defense just 3 months later in March, and she lost her belt then. This is what she stated about that. That was honestly a big regret of mine, letting the pressure push me into jumping back so quickly after having gone through so much fighting on The Ultimate Fighter. That was my 5th fight in 8 months. It's really draining. That was a big regret of mine, not letting myself recover a little bit and jumping straight back into it because feeling pressured and wanting to make the UFC happy. But in the end, if I'm losing my title, then what was it all worth it anyway? Esparza had 3 fights before she met Rose in the finale in December 2014, before fighting Joanna in March. She laments the fact that she took her first title defense bout so early without recovering and vows not to make the same mistake again. But what do you think about Esparza wanting to fight her on her own terms? And who do you think will win out of Esparza and Weili? Thanks so much for joining us today. What do you make of what's going on in the fight world? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest news from the MMA Zone. See you next time.